over the last few years, I have really tried to be more like her from a gratitude standpoint. She is that person that is always sees the good in every situation.
Welcome to another enriching episode of Mirror Talk, Soulful Conversations. Today, we are joined by an extraordinary entrepreneur and visionary. With a career spanning over 2 decades, David has transformed industries that have been overlooked by many, turning everyday necessity into premium experiences, from revolutionizing portable restrooms with Royal Restrooms to elevating outdoor entertainment, event hospitality, mobile businesses, and off-road adventures. David's impact is nothing short of inspiring. In this episode, we'll be exploring his journey, the mindset behind his business and success, and the lessons he has learned along the way. David, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing?
Toby, thank you. I appreciate what an introduction. I think I almost want to come meet myself now.
Thank you so much. I try to just, make it very brief. I mean, everything that you've done so far. While preparing for this conversation, I was just going through a lot of things that you've done, and I'm like, wow, amazing job. I mean, looking into things that people have overlooked, going deep into that. That's a lot of things I would love to learn from you in this conversation, actually.
Yeah, I sound really good on paper. Hopefully I'll be as well as a guest on your show here today.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But before we go into that already, I would like us to get to know you. And, our new format here is basically we try to get to know our guests by playing a game of wild cards. So are you ready to play a game of wild cards?
Let's do it.
Like I said before we start recording, we have 3 stacks of cards, and I'll just pick one randomly from a stack. So the first level is the icebreaker, second level is confessions, and the third level is getting deeper. So I'll just pick a card, and then we'll go to the next level, and then hopefully by then we'll have gotten to know you a little better. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Let's do it. So I'm picking a card randomly. I just shuffled while speaking and picked a card from the first level. And the question is, what would you honestly rate yourself 1 to 10? Why?
Well, I guess that would be, if it was looks, I would say a 10. But seriously, I think I'm a pretty normal, average guy. I don't think there's a whole lot special to me. I'm a grateful person. Wake up in the morning and it's like my son and I yell good morning out the front door to get ourselves energized and ready for the day. I'm a very level, even keel person. So overall, on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say there's not a whole lot of excitement or down. I'm just mellow. So I'd say a good 6 or a 7.
6 or 7. I mean, yeah, I would give you 8, but I know you're very humble because even before we started recording this episode, you shared some good news that you've experienced today, and you just shared them like very jovially and very normal. And I was like, oh, those are great things to accomplish in just one day.
Yes, today was a nice day.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's good. I'm happy to learn that about you. Are you ready for the next question?
All right, let's do it.
Let's do it. So the next question is, what have you been feeling too embarrassed to admit?
One of the things that I am embarrassed to admit, one, I guess it's a little vanity right now. I'm over that 50 mark. So I seem to be popping up with gray hairs in my beard, and I see it in my hair. My wife told me that I probably need Botox because I have this mean scowl look between my eyes now. So I think, right now I'm kind of, going back to the look. I'm worried that I'm starting to look older, not just feeling it, but looking it. So that's one of those things that, still kind of a private matter, still kind of, you're accepting it. But yeah, I'm a little embarrassed that I've taken note of it of late.
I mean, it happens to the best of us, but I believe it's something that aging is something that we get to embrace. I mean, as a person, I'm also struggling with this. I'm much younger, but I still struggle with it nevertheless. But on this podcast, I learned from a couple. We talked about aging. No, yeah, I think aging agelessly or something, or growing agelessly or something like that. And I learned so much about, how to live a very ageless life and just appreciate it and embrace it and just live it. Just embrace the gray hair and embrace all the wrinkles and everything and just love it.
But they say wisdom, or they say youth is, wisdom is, or what is it? Wisdom is wasted on the youth, or I can't now. I'm fumbling my words, but as a person, I still feel young. I still think young. It's just an adjustment. My thought process, I have to put on reading glasses now to see things closer because my eyes get a little blurry. And it's just a process of life. It's a facts of life, but at the same time, you don't necessarily want to admit that you're succumbing to age. And the wisdom is still there. The learning is still there. The growth is still there. The want, but things just slow down a little bit.
Yeah. Well, that's part of life.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready for the last question from the white card?
All right. Yep. Let's do it.
Okay. This is very deep. Do you feel lost in life? Explain.
Yes. I think that's a daily occurrence. I think that's a constant. There's a lot of things that you feel lost on, especially when you're trying to stay motivated and when you are trying to push things positive out. When you're running a company, you have to have that positive image and you have to continue that momentum. You have to be on. And that is tiring. That is very difficult to maintain that upward spirit. When you start to feel a little lost, or when you get some bad news, or you get some troubling information, or you realize that things aren't going as well, those weigh in on you and you do feel lost, and you have to dig deep, have to recognize that, every path leads to another open door. Just because you are blocked here does not mean that you cannot find your end goal, that there is another way around the mountain. There's another way to solve the problem. It's just a matter of continuing to push forward. But feeling lost, yes. Your mind is your worst enemy sometimes. What you think and what you feel can consume you, and you constantly have to fight that to be better and to find a way out of that. Because as a leader, as an entrepreneur, as somebody who is responsible for other people, you have to take it on the chin sometimes, and you have to find a way around it.
Yeah. Yes. You have to just take the chance. And I mean, this is a wonderful segue to one of the reasons why I wanted to speak with you on this episode. And I love the fact that you talked about, that struggle to always find the motivation, especially as an entrepreneur. So I'd like to learn from your journey so far, from everything that you've built up, you built a career on turning overlooked industries into high-end experiences. One thing that's coming up for me is how do you find the motivation to do this? And what drives you to see potential where others see limitations?
Right. Well, my origins and my background kind of came with Royal Restrooms, which is a luxury portable restroom trailer. We do events, weddings, festivals. We are the alternative to your typical porta potty, except we have that elevated experience. It's a real bathroom just outside. You have flushing toilets, you have running water, it's climate controlled, there's a vanity, there's sink, there's paper towels, soaps. You're in a real bathroom just outside. My, I guess, solution, or how I found that solution, really came out of a horrible experience going to a portable bathroom with my children. And out of that experience, I was just like, I can't be the only one that feels like this. Other people have to feel the way that I do. Just looking at something simple, not accepting what is out there, and how can we change something? How can we tweak it to be a little more comfortable, a little more nicer, or just how can we make things better? You can look at 100 things all over the place, and other people do things better. Other countries do things better. It's just the way that we're used to and we're accustomed to, that so many people have a hard time changing. And with our industry, with restrooms, is people accepted the portable toilet. That was just a necessary evil at an outside event. Why? just because nobody had given them an alternative. Here we have tents, we have the heaters, we have TVs, we have all this stuff, and yet we're regulated to or delegated to go to the bathroom in a, basically a pot. How is that acceptable? It's not. And now the norm is more restroom trailers. More and more people want this. More and more people are expecting it. And that's how I've kind of built, I guess, our legacy and our name. And that goes with all the other businesses. I look at things all over the place and try to figure out how can we make this just a tad better? How can we just tweak it just a little bit more? So many people's ideas and business plans are not really their own. They've just built upon something that's already there, and they've just tweaked it just a little bit to go along with the times.
Sometimes you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just have to improve things and the loopholes and things and try to be the solution. Like for me, I've used public bathrooms a number of times before. I never thought about, improving it. So from when I heard about you, I was like, oh, it takes an extraordinary person to actually feel uncomfortable in those public basic bathrooms or restrooms, and then think about, oh, how can I turn this around? How can I make it comfortable for myself and for other people out there? When venturing into this, business, into this area, are there like some challenges that you faced, like in terms of gaining acceptance, in terms of, people recognizing you? A lot of people are used to the norms, basically. They're like, okay, a restroom has to be basic, it's fine. You don't have to enjoy yourself or feel comfortable. And then you're coming with a solution of, oh, it has to be like a proper bedroom. It has to be comfortable with air condition, with everything perfect. What was it like for you being accepted with this business idea and solution?
We were not accepted. It was because we were changing the industry standard. So many people at the beginning told us that we were crazy. They told my business partner, Robert, and I that we were crazy, that we had lost our minds, that this was never going to work. Nobody wanted this. Why would you pay this much to go to the bathroom? Porta potties are 1/3 of the cost of what you're trying to rent this restaurant. Nobody's going to pay $700 or $800 or $1,000 for a restroom trailer when they can get something for $50 or $60. Well, I, for one, am like, well, I know I don't like going to the bathroom. So if you want your guest to not like going to the bathroom, and if you want your guest to talk about, if that's the negative that you want, then that's the negative that you're going to get. But it took a lot of overcoming. It took a lot of donations. It took a lot of community effort. It took a lot of putting the product out there and testing it and showing them. And what ended up happening is we found out when you sat down on our bathroom for the first time, you never wanted to go back to the other way. And that is what sold it. And then it was like, people are like, this is so simple. Why didn't we think of this? This is the greatest thing. I can't believe that nobody's ever thought of this before. Like, why are we just now doing this? And it went from, it's never going to work. This is not, this is ridiculous, to this is such a simple idea. It's the greatest thing, to add to an event. But you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand. And now we find your trailers everywhere, from for the businesses, for example, weddings and festivals, like you said already, or even during this emergency applications or responses. Now I think it has been accepted and people are making use of it everywhere. So I'd like to know how you took it from that one simple idea to expanding it to what it is today. Can you walk us through the steps, if there are like steps or strategies that you put into place to take it from having a small idea to what it is today?
Sure, Toby. So when Robert and I first started this business, we did not have aspirations of being this big porta potty company or even really being in this business. This was all a side hustle. It was kind of a side job. It was to better our experiences and to boost our local, I guess, tourism event space. We took a different route because people sought us out after they used our bathrooms and they wanted to bring them back to their cities. So we got asked to expand our business because people wanted to follow our lead and our model, and they wanted to share our name, and they wanted to share resources, and they wanted to share trailers. So we expanded through licenses relatively very quickly and early on in our stages, which the great thing is what most people like to hear is everything was wonderful. You were fast paced. You're doing great. You're doing gangbusters, but we didn't put all the necessary processes in place that we probably needed to. We didn't seek a lot of exterior help. We tried to do things on the cheap, on the down low. We tried to do it ourselves. And we really should have taken on proper support and proper knowledge from other people that had expanded businesses rather than just two local boys trying to figure out how to build a business. Even though we knew the product, we had the product, but starting a franchise and developing a franchise system is a totally separate business from the actual business that we were working in. Mm. So there's a lot of good things that we did, and there's a lot of bad things that we did, but we're still here 20 years later, actually 21 years later. We've got roughly 50 offices across the country, and we're still growing. We could have probably grown a lot more if we would have taken that outside help, but we grew organically, which is one of those things. We wanted to control our business. We didn't want other people to dictate what we were going to do in our business. And we were able to maintain our core values and our brand, but really our consistency across the board and picking leaders and entrepreneurs that shared our core values.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I mean, I love that being able to take control of your narrative, keeping your core values, keeping what you stand for basically, and not being compromised or not being forced to compromise due to support that you might need to expand or to grow your business organically. Something I'm picking from you also right now. It could take time, but you're doing it on your own terms, basically, in your own way, basically. Yeah, I like that. Yeah,
we've lived comfortably. I wouldn't say stress-free, but we've lived a good life. We've had a good run. We don't have yachts, or we don't have 2 and 3 houses anywhere. We're not multimillionaires. We're good, solid business people. We run a good business. We have a good operation. We have a good product. In that sense, it still very much seems or feels like a family-run operation rather than some big corporate structure.
Yeah. Well, I would like to know, David, what made you choose this model of franchising? What made you go towards that direction? And are there some lessons? Or maybe let's do that first. What made you choose that first? And we'll go into the lessons that you learned from that.
So we originally began as a license, which, like I said earlier, that we had people that wanted to model our business and share our concept and our ideas and learn from it. And we grew fairly rapidly in the first few years. But from a franchise standpoint, we were forced into becoming a franchise because there are laws in the United States that dictate certain franchise laws that if we tell somebody that you have to do this and conform to these regulations or these ideas, then you have to become a franchise, and you have to basically prove that model, and you have to register it, and it has to be reviewed by the government, and then it has to be reviewed by each individual state that is a regulatory state. So from a franchise standpoint, we were forced to become a franchise back in 2008. And from that model, we have slowly, it really kind of gave a bad taste in our mouth, but we've slowly grown. We never have picked back up the pace that we once had, but now 21 years later, we do have a few people that are looking to retire and move on because they've been in the business for 15, 16, 17 years. The franchise holds more value. It holds more value and substance to banks, to other institutions, because there is a proven system. And that is one of the benefits of being a franchise is it's a proven system if you follow the model. You still have to do the work. It's not handed to you, but it's a blueprint for success if you do this. And I think a lot of people don't understand that they buy something because they think that it's going to automatically be a success. you still have to put the work in it. It's, I guess, well, they're kind of getting to autonomous cars now, but even if you have a Porsche or Lamborghini, you still have to drive the vehicle. It doesn't move by itself. So even if you own it, you still have to put in the work to get it to where the business needs to go.
Oh, yeah. Maybe you could correct me. I mean, from your experience, well, sometimes I always think buying into a franchise system, for example, it gives me a leverage when I want to start a business. Like, for example, imagine, let's take, for example, I want to start building my own cars, making my own cars. Maybe Elon Musk, for example, is offering for a franchise system for his Tesla, and I then buy into that. So in Germany, I start to manufacture Teslas, even though it's my own business, basically. Sometimes I always believe me building with that name gives me that leverage because he has that reputation already, that brand is there, it's existing, and people will just automatically admit that it is from the same person. Is that true, or is there like some misconception to that?
No. So a franchise is really not built around a person. It's built around the brand. So we were first to market. So my Royal Restrooms is not just me. I am more Royal Restrooms. In other words, people know who Royal Restrooms are. They don't know who David Sauers is. Our markets, we market our local people. We market a brand that is professional, that is consistent, that is reliable, and something that you've got a 21-year history that you can rely on. We market our individual owners because they are the community leaders. So from a franchise standpoint, it's kind of like coexisting. You want to be known as the owner of the franchise, but the franchise is the brand that you're selling. The franchise doesn't sell you, you sell the brand. So go in with somebody like a Tesla, you've got the proven model, you've got the proven product. Regardless of how anything else goes out, the product is sound, the product is good. Royal Restrooms is a sound business. We were one of the first to market. We have a good proven track record. That's what people are buying. Next, when you go to yourself, you're marketing yourself as Royal Restrooms. They're counting on you to uphold all of those values. And Royal Restrooms, in turn, is looking to you for those values to be put out there.
Okay, I understand. So it's not like, okay, if I start a restroom business and I call it Royal Restrooms, I would automatically be successful because you've built up that reputation and brand already, and I could just, gain from that basically by buying into your business. I have to do the work myself to build it, yeah.
Yes. We give you the blueprint, we give you the name, we give you the tools, but you still have to go out there and, wear it on your sleeve. I wear purple every single day. I have a purple chair. I make sure that I am known and that people know me as Royal Restrooms, not just myself.
That's good. Okay, learned that already. So, a major theme in your business is exceptional customer experience. And I find that very, very valuable, to give the customer a wonderful experience. So what core values do you instill in your companies to ensure that customer satisfaction remains a top priority?
Well, that goes right back to the individual owners. When the owners and the franchisees, when they take responsibility, when they put themselves out there, it's like their legacy. If the trailers look bad, if the business looks bad, then they look bad. So it's important that they maintain that consistency and that level of expectation that has been proven for the last 21 years. So when you go to an event, it's not like, or let me back up. When you go to McDonald's, it's not like we're buying the same hamburger across the board. We may have different trailers, but you can expect the same service, the same level of professional service, the quality, and that we're going to do exactly what we say with the minimal amount of problems that could possibly go wrong. We've done events all across the country. We've done every type of event. We know how to eliminate problems before they happen so that you can have a successful event. And I think that's what the majority of people have really truly come to rely on. That and those individual owners, because they've taken a personal interest and they wear it on their sleeve, it is their reputation on the line and not just Royal Restrooms.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And talking about customers, sometimes it could be I'm a lot of challenge or a big challenge working with customers. So I'd like to learn from your story or your experience so far. Like, what has been like the biggest challenge, working with customers and trying to satisfy them, but not meeting their expectations, or, different clashes that happens when working with customers?
So it's not as much as it once was, but our biggest clash with customers is a lot of times they may feel like they know where to put our product when the event planner or the festival goers like, here's where we want to put them. Here's where we want to put them. We want to put them out of the way. We don't want to put them here. We don't want to put them there. Usually it's best to put them in the proper flow of traffic and where there's ease of ingress and egress. We can identify that on a map 9 times out of 10, probably better than the event planner. I would say that's one of our biggest hurdles is they don't want to listen to what we do have to say. On the flip side, though, if we discuss or start talking about sanitation needs, people typically are like, whatever you say. When you get right down to the actual sanitation side, they're like, we may want it over here, but yeah, whatever you say. I don't want to know about it. So there's the gives and it's a two-way street.
It's a street. Yeah. Because I know sometimes, some people they have a lot of opinions and they want it to be done exactly the way they want it, they have a plan in their head. And it's sometimes from your own point of view or perspective, it will be clashing because you think from a professional point of view, it has to be in a different place, like you said, in the where there's a flow of traffic, for example. Different things could happen. Well,
Yes.
How do you stay grounded, basically? How do you avoid conflicts? How do you ensure that even though there are differences in interests or opinions, you are still able to, perform your work as expected?
That's always a delicate touch, because we're in a very alpha strong mentality. We want it done this way. We want it done that way. We want it to look this certain way. You have to carefully put that idea into their head as maybe it's theirs by just simply saying, what about this spot over here? With this, what are you doing with this area? This seemed, this could be a little bit better. Allowing them to help come up with the idea with the plan that you actually do want. But
Smart.
I would say that the bulk is they are the client and they are the ones ultimately doing the best that you can. And you have to explain to them and be as upfront with them as possible. You can disagree with them, but still put it in the same place. Like, hey, I think this would be better over here. We could have a problem, but we will do exactly what you want. And if something does go bad, we'd say, well, we did tell you that, this could be a potential problem.
I was just laughing right now because I was just getting a picture in my head. For example, just for fun's sake, a client asks you to place the restroom on top of a tree, and you try all your best not to tell them otherwise. And at the end of the day, you just end up putting the restroom on top of the tree because that's what they want, basically.
Yeah, we've been places where they have insisted that the bathroom go way over there, and it is 5 or 6 football fields away. And it's like, if that's what you want, I mean, like, no one's going to use this. Like it is literally too far to walk. Grandma with her cane is going to just pop a squat right here by the tree, like this makes no sense at all. But yeah, it's, you do have some people that are unrealistic, and there have been times where we have basically said we're not going to do a certain thing because it may end up looking bad on us. Like an event may say, hey, we're only going to have 400 people. And then we get to the event and they're telling us that they're going to have 3,000 people.
Okay.
But the trailer's not going to hold that. We're not going to do this because the trailer's going to fill up. It's going to make us look bad. And then y'all are going to probably say something like, well, this is all they gave us. They ultimately turn it around to someone else. So we have refused service before, but we always try to find a solution because we want to be there. We want to help out and we want to make events extraordinary.
Extraordinary. Yes. And that's awesome. David, I would like to learn from you personally. I know you are involving into different businesses. How do you know, or how do you decide which industry to enter into? Like, for example, you've expanded beyond restrooms into outdoor entertainment. You have the mobile bars, you have the overland campers, and the concession trailers also. Like, how do you decide which industry to enter into, and what do they all have in common? Are they all different, or there's something particular that you're always looking into that is common to all of them?
Yeah. So all of my businesses are related with the exception of the overland campers, which is a completely different story. But from my TV trailers to my bar trailers to the refrigeration trailers, office trailers, all of those things are directly related back to events. So if we have a horse race, you have beverage, you need a refrigerator for the product, the food, the flowers, whatever you're looking at, office trailer for general office staff, or it could be for security or just anything in general. These trailers encompass what I've seen over the years that are typically either, just not run very well, or they're run out of a tent, or like the bar trailers, our beverage trailers. I watch people pull coolers, lug coolers all through the thing early that morning. They're lugging ice through golf carts. They're putting it all in a tent. They've got chairs or tables put out there. They've got a little makeshift bar. And at the end of the day, they're lugging everything back to lock up. Well, it's just a 10 by 10 tent. It's nothing extraordinary. It doesn't, it's not impressive. Well, you put a beverage trailer there. Everything's locked up. You have a hand wash station there. You have a refrigerator. You have ice coolers built in. You have somewhere where people are out of the sun, but also it's inviting. It's something different. It's appeasing to the eye. So you're going to gravitate over to it. All of these are just small things that I've picked up along the years that I've watched when we're setting up before a tournament. A lot of the refrigeration trailers, ours are small. They'll pull in these big 53-foot reefer trailers and only use like 10 feet. They'll put a couple ice machines in there, or, they'll have the drinks, and they're only using 10 foot of the whole trailer, but yet they've got a whole huge, massive refrigeration system, all to heat something all to cool something that's very small. From an office standpoint, security to event staff, you've got a place that you can check in. You've got a little vanity there. It could be locked up. You can work out of the rain rather than just a tent. These are all things that add value and make your life easier.
Yeah. I love that, adding value to people's life, making life much more comfortable for people, making it easier for people. Yeah. I think you've answered the question I had in my head, because I wanted to ask you, or I'm still going to ask you anyways. I wanted to ask that, business owners stagnate. Everyone experiences, this stagnation from time to time in business, but you seem to keep on innovating. Like, how do you stay ahead of the curve, and how do you continually reinvent your offerings? How do you make it always attractive and make it good for people to always, tempting for people to always get?
Well, I think that's always, that's not settling. When you continue to invent, you're growing. So many people in business, they just get so focused on the work that is right in front of them that they forget how they got there, because they're so focused on just trying to keep what they've got rather than continuing to grow. So when I look at opportunities to advance my businesses and in our business, I'm staying ahead of the competition. I am making, even if we may not have the business, I am making the competition think like, oh my gosh, I have to get this now. So I may inadvertently make them spend more money to just try to keep up with what we're doing all along while we are testing markets and testing things. But it's no fun just to keep doing the same thing over and over and looking at the same thing over and over. I want to make sure that things continue to grow. I want things to be different. I don't want it to be the same. I want to, I want to get in a different car every few years. I want something different. I want a new shirt. It's just like wearing tennis shoes, I want a new pair of shoes. These are my favorite ones, but man, it'd be nice to have something a little newer and a little flashier, and somebody say, hey, that's pretty cool looking.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I mean, we always want something new, always want to try different things out. And, it's going to be too boring just doing the same thing over and over and over. It's too monotonous. Yeah, that's true. And that leads to stagnation also. That leads to just being stale.
It's like going to the same restaurant every single day and eating the same food. I mean, how long can you physically do that before you're just like, I'm not going to eat this anymore. I'd rather starve. If you just take that simple scenario of eating, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich every day for a week, you would look like, I'm not eating this anymore. Well, that's the same as business. Why? If it gets stagnant, it gets boring. You have to try new things to keep it exciting, or else you do get stagnant. You are an entrepreneur for a reason. You're an entrepreneur because you take risks, you see vision, you continue to grow. So many people that get into business all of a sudden are afraid of losing that business because they're responsible for other things now. And it's like, I'm going to keep everything close to me because I don't want anything to change. All while, if you're not growing, you're declining. You're not going to stay the same. If you're not growing, you're not learning. You're not moving.
Yeah. Some people say if you're not growing, then you are dying, basically. So now you're going forward, exactly. You're going backwards. Yeah. Yeah. That's the truth. So, David, I've learned a lot from your entrepreneurial journey and what you do. I've learned a lot of secrets to how, to what makes you successful today. But I also like to know, I know that entrepreneurship can be very demanding, and you're a family man, and you have your children, your family, kids, and you have these businesses actually, plural, that you have to also maintain and run. So how do you balance your personal life with running all of these multiple businesses? And how do you also keep grounded? How do you stay connected with your family, stay connected with yourself also?
A lot of that has to do with my wife, Christy. She is, over the last few years, I've really tried to be more like her from a gratitude standpoint. She is that person that always sees the good in every situation. She will tell you, if someone gets sick, oh, well, at least they're not in a hospital. That's good. There's just always something positive. Whereas I may be, I take it a different path. I'm like, oh, they're sick. They didn't come into work, or they didn't do this. And she's like, oh, well, at least they're not in the hospital. They'll be better in a couple of days. We should call them to make sure they're okay. She has just this remarkable presence about her that is always uplifting. Family wise, I probably did not do that great of a job when I started Royal Restrooms, because I looked at the success of that business as I was doing it for them, which I was probably really more doing it for myself. I was just using that excuse to trick myself by saying, I'm building this for you. I'm building this for you. Now I have
you mean your family, right?
Yes, I would say to them that I'm missing your soccer game because I'm trying to build this business. I missed the game because I thought what I was doing at that moment was more important than the soccer game. That's not necessarily true. And you trick your mind into believing that what you're doing is better than what it is from spending time with your family. My children are 26, 25, 24, and 23, and then I have a 7-year-old. The 7-year-old gets a lot more of my personal attention than my older children did. However, we have maintained those close ties by, one, trying to include them in our businesses, but also made sure that we've gone on extended family vacations and that we incorporate each other's time to spend quality time together. One of my daughters is out in South Dakota. We went and spent a week out there, and we went through the canyons up there and the Badlands and all of that kind of stuff. So those are things that, by spending the quality time and letting loose and not worrying about business, has brought all of us closer. But I would say, a refocus on what is truly important. And, that is the big man upstairs and your family, and then your business. There's nothing that you can't do. If you're not in a life-saving business, which we're not in any kind of life-saving business, it can wait. It can wait till tomorrow.
Yeah, that's true. It's always important to balance it up and keep the family also, connected to oneself, and also be connected to yourself too. I like that. Yeah. So I'd like to know what the future is like for you. Like, looking ahead, what is next for you? What is next for your businesses? Are there like any exciting projects or expansions on the horizon for you?
Yes. We've got quite a few things happening. I just got cast on Legacy Makers TV today. I got an onboarding call, so I'm pretty excited about going on TV, and we're going to talk about Royal Restrooms and my journey. So that was a nice boost, to morale today, to be recognized.
That's awesome.
My Kruger Busch campers, my overland campers, we have been invited to the 125th New York International Auto Show, which is at the end of April. It is the oldest auto show in the world and one of the largest on the East Coast. So that's a pretty big honor for such a fledgling company is mine, but it is a unique business. It's an overland company, which is not related to Royal Restrooms and my other enterprises, but that was also inspired by, we spent about 6 weeks over in South Africa, Botswana, Zimbabwe, and Zambia, and we kind of toured the country and camped out and went on safari and spent a lot of time over there with my family. And that family time is important. And out of that inspired us to bring some of those, ideals back home with us. And we've also just now started a nonprofit called Savannah Water Foundation, which, with our contacts that we've met over there, will help actually build some wells to those outlying communities. So it's being able to actually see exactly where your money goes and know that the project will be funded from start to finish and not, incomplete or just diverted to other places. So we've got on-site personnel that we met during our travels that are able to help us go over there and do some good, do some change.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, giving back to the community, helping to improve other people's life out there, it's something I really admire. And congratulations on all the things you've achieved so far. And I'm looking forward to even speaking with you in some episodes later with greater things that you've done also. I mean, David, I really appreciate this incredible, conversation I had with you. It's very insightful for me. I learned from your journey. Your journey so far is like a testimony to vision, perseverance, and customer-focused innovations that you've created. So thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. What's the best way to connect and work with you?
Yeah, so absolutely. So Royal Restrooms is our business, which that's where you can either become a franchise or look at our rental sites across the country if you need a mobile restroom. I can be found on LinkedIn under David Sauers, Sauers, or any of our social media outlets from any of our various companies, Pitch Perfect TVs, Kruger Busch Campers, Royal Restrooms, Savannah Bar Carts. We can be found at any of those locations, and somehow, some way, it will get back to me.
Awesome. I'm going to place a link to your website in the show notes of this episode. So I encourage anyone out there who's interested to click on the link, copy the link, reach out to David, check out the wonderful things that they do, the trailers, the Royal Restrooms and other businesses. It's something to look into. And maybe someone out there is interested in, joining your franchising system business, for example, and they could get across to you and, start their own business too. That'll be awesome. Thank you so much, David.
Love it.
It was wonderful speaking with you. I really appreciate speaking with you, David.
Thank you, Tobi. My pleasure. Again, and thank you.
Thank you very much.